Let me take you back to a Tuesday evening. Nothing special about it. You're standing at your kitchen counter in Omaha, Nebraska, slicing tomatoes for a salad nobody asked for. The TV in the living room is running. Something about Venezuela and diplomatic ties. The anchor's voice filling the silence your wife stopped filling years ago. Your wife walks in, doesn't look at you, opens the fridge, takes out a yogurt, leans against the counter. You say something small, something like, "Hey, come sit with me tonight." And she says, without looking up from the yogurt, "Stop expecting intimacy. I've told you. It's not happening." Not angry, not sad, just administrative. Like she's declining a meeting request. You put the knife down. Not because the words are new, because the tone is. She used to at least pretend it was complicated. Tonight, she doesn't even pretend. That's what happened to me. My kitchen, my wife, my 27-year marriage. My name is Elmer Forsyth, and for 27 years I was married to Mabel. We met at a furniture store on Dodge Street. She was looking at bookshelves, I was looking at her. I was 41, she was 38. Both of us had been around long enough to know what we wanted. Or thought we did. The first decade was real. Not perfect, real. Saturday mornings at the farmer's market in the Old Market District. Her hand on my arm when we walked. She had this way of laughing, threw her whole head back, didn't care who was watching. I loved that woman. And she loved me. I'm sure of it. As sure as I am that the woman standing in my kitchen that Tuesday evening was someone else wearing her face. The erosion didn't have a starting gun. No affair. No blow-up. Just years of small withdrawals, both of us. I stopped bringing flowers. She stopped asking how my day went. I watched more TV. She read more books. We shared a bed but slept in different time zones. I'd be out by 9. She'd stay up past midnight. Then one morning I realized I couldn't remember the last time she'd touched my shoulder walking past. That was 3 years before the yogurt conversation. Here's the thing about slow erosion. You don't notice it until your feet are wet. And by then the foundation's gone. After the yogurt comment, I stood at that counter for a long time. Water running over the tomatoes I'd stopped slicing. 10 minutes, maybe 15. The TV switched to commercial. I didn't move. The next morning I picked up an extra shift at the warehouse. Then another one the following week. And another. By October, I was leaving before Mabel woke up and coming home after she was asleep. The house became a hotel. I slept there, showered there, but I didn't live there anymore. She didn't notice for 3 weeks. Stay with me here, because what happened next is where I started losing myself. It was a Thursday. I'd worked a double, 14 hours on my feet pulling freight at the distribution center off I-80. Got to the bus stop on 72nd Street at 11:15 at night. The bus came. I didn't get on. Sat there on that bench. Another bus came 20 minutes later. Didn't move. The third one pulled up. The driver actually opened the door and looked at me. I stared at the ground. She closed the door and pulled away. Rain started. Light at first, then steady. I sat there. Jacket soaking through. Hands on my knees. Not thinking about Mabel. Not thinking about anything. Just sitting in the rain like a man who forgot where he was supposed to go. That bench, that was rock bottom. The place where the man I'd been for 27 years just stopped working. But here's what they don't tell you about rock bottom. It's solid ground. You can stand on it. The following Sunday, I found myself in the basement of Grace Lutheran on Maple Street. An AA meeting. I don't drink. Never have, not really. But I'd heard somewhere that those rooms were full of men who understood what it meant to be broken and not have anyone to tell. So I sat in a folding chair in the back, plastic cup of bad coffee, and listened to men talk about losing everything and finding themselves somewhere in the wreckage. A guy named Phil, 62, retired postal worker, looked at me after the meeting. "You don't smell like whiskey." "No." "Then why are you here?" "Because my wife told me to stop expecting intimacy, and I don't have anyone else to tell that to." Phil nodded like that was the most normal thing he'd ever heard. "Same time next Sunday?" "Yeah." That became my retreat. Every Sunday evening. The church basement with the water-stained ceiling tiles and the coffee that tasted like pencil shavings. Those men didn't judge. They didn't advise. They just sat there, and that was enough. Meanwhile, something was changing at home, and I almost missed it. Mabel started reaching for me. Not emotionally, physically. After months of nothing, suddenly she was different. One night, in early November, she initiated something that hadn't happened in over a year. But it wasn't the Mabel I knew. New energy. New confidence. Behavior I hadn't seen in 27 years of marriage. I lay there afterward staring at the ceiling, and a question crawled into my head that I couldn't get out. Where did she learn that? Not who. Where? Because the Mabel I married, she wasn't this. Something had shifted, and it wasn't because of me. I didn't ask. I filed it away. The way you file away a crack in a wall. You know it's there. You know what it means, but you're not ready to call the inspector yet. Then came the performance reviews. It started small. You should read more, Elmer. Then, maybe try therapy. Just for yourself. Then, the one that landed like a slap. Work on yourself. I'll think about it. She said it like she was a hiring manager and I was the candidate. Like 27 years of marriage was a job interview I hadn't passed yet. Think about what? I asked. Us. Whether this is still working. You'll think about whether 27 years is still working? Don't make it dramatic. I'm just saying, show me you're growing, and we'll see. We'll see. Like I was on probation. Like the decades, the mortgage payments, the nights I held her when her mother died, the Christmases, the quiet mornings. All of it was a trial period, and she hadn't made her final decision. I wasn't going to audition for a role I'd already earned. I almost fell for it, though. Almost started performing, buying self-help books, signing up for a gym, changing my clothes, trying to become whatever version of Elmer she'd approve of. I came that close. But then I heard something I wasn't supposed to hear. A Saturday afternoon. Mabel was having lunch with her friend Suzanne Lattimore at the kitchen table. I was supposed to be at work, but my shift got canceled. I came in through the garage, quiet, and I heard them before they heard me. Suzanne's voice, clear and casual. In Nebraska, you're looking at equitable distribution. The house, the retirement account, half his pension if he has one. 27 years? Mabel, you'd be very comfortable. I stood in the hallway. Didn't breathe. Mabel, I'm not saying I want a divorce. Suzanne, I'm not saying you do. I'm saying you should know what you're entitled to. Knowledge is power, right? Entitled to. That phrase hit different standing in the hallway of my own house. Listening to a woman I'd never trusted explain to my wife how much she could take from me. Suzanne Lattimore wasn't just a friend. She was a divorce attorney. And she'd been having these lunches with Mabel for months. I just didn't know it. Now here's what I need you to understand. I didn't storm in. I didn't confront. I stood in that hallway for 45 seconds, turned around, walked back to the garage, and drove to the parking lot of the Hy-Vee on Center Street. Sat in the car, hands still. Then I called my friend Gail Hawthorne. Gail and I had worked together at the distribution center for 11 years. She was 60, direct, and the only person who'd ever told me the truth without wrapping it in a compliment. Gail, I need a lawyer. Not a Suzanne Lattimore kind of lawyer. My kind of lawyer. What happened? My wife's friend is teaching her how to take everything I have. Pause. Velma Wellman. She's in Bellevue. Tough as a railroad spike and doesn't play games. I'll text you the number. Monday morning, 9 a.m., I was sitting in Velma Wellman's office. She was exactly what Gail described. Short, direct, no small talk. How long has your wife been consulting with a divorce attorney? At least 3 months. Maybe longer. And she hasn't filed? No. Then she's positioning. Getting her story straight. Building a narrative. Making sure the money's where she wants it. You need to protect your assets. Today, I didn't want to hear that. But I needed to. Velma laid it out. Separate the accounts. Document everything. Don't leave the house. That looks like abandonment. And most importantly, don't react. Let her think everything's normal while you get your foundation solid. So I did. Quietly. Methodically. The way you pour concrete. Slow, level, permanent. And then I stopped paying for everything. Not as a strategy. Not as revenge. I just looked at our life one evening. The mortgage I paid alone, the utilities in my name, the car insurance, the groceries, the credit card she used without asking. And I realized I was funding a life she was planning to leave. So I split it. Down the middle. Put exactly half the mortgage into the joint account. Canceled the credit card. Set up automatic payments for my half of the utilities. Put a note on the fridge. Bills are split 50/50 starting November 1st. Mabel found the note on a Wednesday. I was sitting at the kitchen table eating leftover soup. What is this? Math. You can't just. This is petty, Elmer. This is incredibly petty. You told me to work on myself. I'm working on my finances. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Mabel? Because every time I ask, you tell me to figure it out myself. So I'm figuring it out. She stared at me. Not with anger. With something I hadn't seen before. Confusion. The Elmer she knew would have apologized, would have taken the note down, would have said, "You're right, I'm sorry," and gone back to funding her exit strategy. That Elmer was sitting on a bus bench in the rain 6 weeks ago. This one wasn't. Over the next 2 weeks, the cycling started. Monday she was ice, walked past me like furniture. Wednesday she made my favorite dinner, pot roast, the one with the carrots cut the way I like. Set the table with the good plates. Even lit a candle. Sat across from me and smiled like it was our first date. "I miss this," she said. "I miss us." And I wanted to believe her. You know that feeling when the person who hurt you suddenly turns warm, and your whole body wants to lean in even though your brain is screaming? That was Wednesday. For 30 minutes I forgot about Suzanne, about the bus stop, about the crack in the ceiling I'd been staring at for months. Then Friday. I came home early. She was on the phone in the bedroom, door cracked. "He's being difficult about the money. Suzanne, I need to know. If he keeps this up, does it affect what I get?" I stood in the hallway. Same hallway as before. Same breath held. "He's being petty and vindictive," Mabel said. The pot roast didn't work. The pot roast didn't work. For words that rewrote every warm moment of that week. The candle, the smile, the "I miss us," all of it was a move. A calculated play to get me back to full funding. And when it didn't work, she reported to her handler like a field agent delivering bad news. That night, I went to the church basement early. Phil was already there, setting up chairs. "Bad week?" he asked. "My wife made me pot roast to restart my credit card." Phil laughed. Not at me. With me. Because in that basement, the absurd became normal, and normal became survivable. Here's where the story takes a turn I didn't see coming. Colt called. My son, 23, living in Lincoln, working at an engineering firm. We talked maybe twice a month. He was busy. I was busy. That's how it goes with grown kids. "Dad, Mom called me. She says you're having a crisis." "Did she say what kind?" "She said you stopped paying the bills, and you're going to some kind of support group." Both true. Are you okay? Colt. Your mother has been consulting with a divorce attorney for months while telling me to work on myself. I split the bills 50-50. She called it petty. I started going to meetings even though I don't drink because I needed men who wouldn't lie to me. Does that sound like a crisis to you? Or does that sound like a man waking up? Long silence. Then, she told me you were the one pulling away. I was. Because she told me to stop expecting anything from her. So I stopped expecting everything. Another silence. I'm coming down this weekend. Colt came that Saturday. He sat with Mabel for an hour, then with me at a diner on Leavenworth. He looked like a man trying to solve an equation that didn't balance. She says you changed. She's right. She says the old Elmer would have fought for the marriage. The old Elmer was sitting on a bus bench in the rain at midnight, not knowing which direction home was. The old Elmer was broken, Colt. This one isn't. He looked at me across the table, really looked. And I saw something shift behind his eyes. Not pity. Recognition. What do you need from me, Dad? Nothing. Just know the truth. 3 days later, the final piece fell into place. I was at Velma's office for our weekly check-in. She pulled up her laptop. Your wife's friend, the attorney, Lattimore, I did some digging. She's done this before. 3 other marriages in the last 5 years. She befriends the wife, does the just informational lunch, coaches the positioning, then handles the divorce herself. It's a business model, Elmer. She gets the referral and the case. I sat there. Your wife isn't the architect. She's the client. And she may not even know it. That changed something. Not everything, but something. Because the Mabel in my kitchen wasn't a villain. She was a woman who'd stopped trying, met someone who gave her a script, and followed it because it was easier than doing the actual work. Suzanne Lattimore wasn't Mabel's friend. She was a contractor. And my marriage was the demolition project. 2 days later, Mabel tried again. A Sunday morning. She came downstairs in the blue dress she wore on our 15th anniversary. Made coffee, my mug, not hers. Sat next to me on the couch. Put her head on my shoulder. I've been terrible, she said. Voice cracking. I know that. I don't know when I stopped trying, but I did, and I'm scared, Elmer. I'm really scared. And I almost believed it. Because when Mabel breaks, really breaks, she doesn't perform. She goes quiet. Small. And that morning she was small. I put my hand on hers. Didn't speak. We sat there for 10 minutes. The house was silent. I thought, maybe there's still something here. Then her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She got up to check it. I watched her face change. Just a flicker, fast, but I caught it. She typed something back. Put the phone down. Came back to the couch. Who was that? Noreen from work. But it wasn't a Sunday work text. And the flicker I saw wasn't colleague casual. Monday morning, early. Mabel in the shower. Her phone on the nightstand. I didn't plan it. I just picked it up. The text from Noreen Pickett was there. But when I scrolled up, the conversation was with Suzanne. Mabel had changed the contact name. The last exchange, Mabel telling Suzanne about the blue dress, the head on the shoulder, the "I'm really scared" speech. And Suzanne's reply, "Good. Keep it up." Emotional vulnerability is the hardest for men to resist. 2 more weeks of this and he'll restore the accounts. 2 more weeks. My pain had a timeline. My vulnerability had a strategy document. The crack in her voice was a planned delivery. I put the phone down. Went to work. Didn't say a word. The confrontation happened that Wednesday evening. Mabel was at the kitchen table. I sat down across from her. No pot roast. No candles. Just 2 people and 27 years of silence between them. I know about Suzanne, I said. I know about the lunches. I know she's a divorce attorney. I know she told you what you're entitled to. I know the pot roast was a strategy. I know the blue dress was a strategy. I know you changed her contact name to Noreen Pickett so I wouldn't see the texts. Mabel's face went through 4 stages in about 10 seconds. Shock. Denial forming. Anger building. Then something I'd never seen. Fear. Elmer, it's not. I've watched you rehearse for months. The tears, the dinner, the "I miss us," the "work on yourself." I've heard all the lines. What I haven't heard, not once, is the truth. She tried the tears. They started forming, practiced, and precise. Then they stopped. Because she looked at my face and realized the mechanism was visible. I could see the gears turning. And she knew it. What do you want me to say? Why? Not the script. Why did you stop? Long silence. The fridge hummed. The TV was off for once. Because I got tired, she said. Quietly. Almost a whisper. Tired of this house. Tired of the routine. Tired of being someone's wife instead of someone. And Suzanne made it sound simple. Like there was an exit that came with a check. So I was the obstacle between you and a check. That's not fair. You told me to stop expecting intimacy. You told me to work on myself like I was applying for a job I'd held for 27 years. You had a divorce attorney coaching your apologies. And I'm the one who's not fair. She put her hands flat on the table. Palms down. Like she was trying to hold something steady. I didn't plan this. No. Suzanne planned it. You just followed instructions. She said she was helping me. She was helping herself. 3 other marriages, Mabel. Same playbook. She befriends the wife, coaches the exit, takes the case. You weren't her friend. You were her next invoice. Something cracked behind her eyes. Not performance cracked. Real. The kind of crack that happens when the floor you've been standing on turns out to be hollow. I didn't know that. I believe you. But you knew the pot roast was a strategy. You knew the blue dress was a strategy. You knew work on yourself wasn't advice. It was a holding pattern. That part was you, Mabel. Not Suzanne. She sat there. No tears. No strategy. Just a woman at a kitchen table realizing the walls she'd built were also a cage. Elmer. I'm sorry. First time she'd said it. First time in maybe 5 years. And I could see it was real. The problem was, real came too late. I know, I said. But sorry doesn't undo a timeline on my emotions. Sorry doesn't undo coaching my vulnerability as a weakness to exploit. I stood up. Picked up my keys. Where are you going? Church basement. There are men down there who lost everything and rebuilt without a script. I'm going to be one of them. The divorce took 4 months. Velma handled it clean. Suzanne tried to represent Mabel, but Velma filed a conflict. Suzanne had been coaching strategy before being retained as counsel. The judge wasn't impressed. Suzanne withdrew. Mabel hired someone else, someone who told her the truth about her position instead of selling her a fantasy. I moved to a 1-bedroom off Saddle Creek Road. Small. Clean. Mine. Colt visited on a Saturday. We assembled a bookshelf, the cheap kind from the store on Dodge Street, same chain where I met his mother 30 years ago. He tightened the last bolt and looked at me. You good, Dad? Getting there. Mom says you're being stubborn. Your mother told me to stop expecting intimacy. So I stopped expecting everything. She called that petty. I call it listening. Colt almost smiled. She also says you still go to those meetings. Every Sunday. You don't drink. No. But I was drowning. He put his hand on my shoulder. Didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. Sunday evening. Church basement. Phil had saved my chair. The one with the wobbly leg by the radiator. Bad coffee in a styrofoam cup. Rain against the basement windows, same as it was on that bus bench 5 months ago. But this time I was sitting because I chose to. Not because I'd forgotten where to go. Phil looked over. Still don't drink. Still don't. Still showing up? Every Sunday. He nodded. Raised his cup. She called me petty. Maybe she was right about one thing in that kitchen. Something in that marriage was petty. Just wasn't me. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.